This edition of Mac Voices is supported by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to keep you up on all the latest from Mac Voices. Watch or listen to Mac Voices straight from your email client. Sign up at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay up to date. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is a Mac Voices briefing on the Plugable 7-in-1 USB-C hub with Ethernet. There are plenty of options out there to add connectivity to your M1 iMac or M1 MacBook or MacBook Pro. But you really have to pay attention to some of the specifics when you're shopping and evaluating products to make sure that they're going to fit all of your needs and everything you want to do, whether you're going to use it on your desktop or on the road out of your backpack. I want to tell you why the Plugable addresses all of those needs for me and what it offers and could offer to you. So first, the very first thing you want to look at, obviously, are the ports, the kind of ports and the number that they provide. The Plugable comes with one USB-C port, but it is not intended for expansion. It is intended as a pass-through charging port. That port inputs up to 100 watts of power and outputs 87 watts. Now, that's not exactly enough to charge a full-size MacBook Pro, but it should get you going and keep you going for a long time. And of course, when you give your MacBook a little bit of rest, it will fully charge the battery. There are two USB 3.0 5 gigabit ports, 1 gigabit Ethernet port, one 4K HDMI video port, and two memory slots, one for SD cards and one for micro SD cards. The Plugable supports Windows 10, Mac OS, Linux, and Chrome OS. A quick note here. Officially, at least in the literature, the Plugable does not support iPad OS. However, I have tested it with my iPad Pro and have had no trouble moving files from an external hard drive through the Plugable into the iPad and vice versa, and connecting it to an external display. So your mileage may vary, but for me it has worked flawlessly. The second thing is reliability. You want to make sure that you can access and use all the ports on your hub at the same time, because the last thing you want to do is try to copy files from one drive to another while driving a monitor and using the Ethernet and find out that the power can't keep up with it and something becomes unreliable. I've had absolutely no trouble with the Plugable. It works like a champ every time, and I've tested it with everything but the micro SD and SD cards, and that's simply because I just don't have a need for those slots. But other than that, copying files back and forth between drives while connected to the Plugable works flawlessly while using the Ethernet while driving a monitor. Two other things that are very important to me are design and bulk. If I'm carrying this thing around, I definitely don't want anything bulky, and the Plugable is anything but bulky. It's very sleek, it's very streamlined, it's very light, and it takes up almost no space in my backpack and certainly not a lot of weight. So it definitely fits that criteria. It also, I should mention, does not get warm or overly warm when it's in use. Of course it gets warm, but it doesn't get hot like some hubs I've used, to the point that you're afraid to put them back in your backpack or afraid to touch them for burning your fingers. No, this gets warm, but nothing beyond that. The design factor, though, is a big one for me because I'm one of those people that likes to keep a case on all of my laptops to protect them for value reasons, so that when I go to trade them in, I can get the best value for them. And even the thinnest case, still, the tolerances are so tight in there that those docks and hubs that plug in directly adjacent to your laptop just will not make the connection, and therefore your hub is worthless. And the last thing I want to do is be taking off my case off my laptop while trying to use the hub, then have to unplug the hub, put the case back on. Makes no sense. The Plugable comes with a short little cable, USB-C cable that plugs in, has no interference with any of the cases I use, and that gives me all the flexibility that I could possibly want. And it also allows me to arrange it where I wish. So if I wanted to dangle off the edge of a desk somewhere and not be quite as visible, or if I want to lay it out flat so that I can plug everything that I can find into it, that works great too. The Plugable 7-in-1 USB-C hub is available from all the usual online outlets for about $40, and it's one that I can recommend to you highly as being very reliable and giving me all the ports that I need on the road. That's a Mac Voices briefing for this time. I'm Chuck Joyner. As always, Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.